called the Body Back Buddy, and it's an incredibly useful tool. It's basically the equivalent of being able to have an elbow in your shoulder, but without having to pay the exorbitant fees of like an hour-long massage. It can be anywhere from 80 to 120 bucks. I'm going to show you how I use this on the regular. This is my favorite tool. I also really like a neck massager. I'll show you a little bit of that. But this thing is so versatile. And so I will sit for a couple hours sometimes and just go at it with this thing. And the beauty of it is once you know how to use it, you won't tire out using it. The first key to using this is to be sitting down. Granted, I do use it while standing up sometimes, but the problem with that is you tend to tire out too easily. If I'm just using it like this, then I'm only engaging the triceps, and so that's the main reason I do not recommend the massage cane, because it doesn't have this curved side for leverage. And so with that, I can use my pecs while pushing, and so that's better because the pecs are a much bigger muscle and I'm actually engaging more. So I'm not going to tire out as quickly, but I still tire out too quickly for my liking. The best way to use this thing I've found is to wrap the leg around like this, and with that I can push down with the hamstring and then I can push back with my low back. Or I can just lean back and I can allow the weight of my leg to do the work for me. So my spine is right here and I place the knob right next to it. I'm allowing the weight of my leg to provide the pressure that I want. I can push down on the hamstring to create even more pressure. And as I do that, I pull out towards the side. I can use this part, this aspect of it, or I can use this aspect of it. And then I have my other hand right on the spine of the tool. And so I'm using those to guide and pull out as I push down first and then I pull out. And then once I get out here, I let up on the pressure. I lift up my leg a little bit and allow it to come back over here. And then I push down again and pull out. So, and the reason why I'm doing that is because the origin of the muscle is the spine and the insertion is over here. And then so every time this muscle contracts, it goes from insertion up to origin. And then so whenever I'm trying to get some relaxation, when I'm trying to elongate the muscle, I want to go opposite of that. So I want to go from an origin to insertion. And then so I can work all the way up through in here. I can work everything in here. You can also just do static pressure. I really like to do that, like right along in here. I'll find a good spot. Yeah, like that one right there. That is a good trigger point. I just push in, take a deep breath, and allow it to do its work. What we're looking for here is just enough pressure to where the nervous system will respond with adaptation. If you do too much, then it will respond with tensing up. It'll start to get defensive. If you don't do enough pressure, then it won't really have an effect. And so I just sit here and wait for it. Do some good deep belly breathing and just relax into it. And then once I've done that for a little while, I can go back and forth. So the fibers of the muscle are running along like that. And then so if I want to break up any sort of adhesions, provide some kind of variety, I can go perpendicular to those fibers to try to break them up. It's kind of like if you had a bunch of spaghetti strings all strung together, or if they were like starting to stick together, you want to get in there and go perpendicular to that to just try to start breaking that stuff up. And so I have static pressure. The pressure is staying the same, but I'm going back and forth while doing that. Okay, so you don't really want to do that on anything that if you have a recent injury, you want to be careful with doing deep frictioning. You really want to be careful of doing anything, just let the injury heal. But after you've had the injury for at least a couple months, you can get in there and you can start to break up any of that scar tissue and then stretch things out and allow it to try to create functional scar tissue at that point. And so I personally have a trigger point, a very important one that's like right about in here. So it's right on that medial aspect of the scapula or the shoulder blade. It's right on the border there. And so I have to go in there and find it. And so but I do notice whenever I push in on it, it sends a referral pressure up to here. And so that's how I know that it's a trigger point, because anytime you have that referral, and it's kind of like a dull, achy kind of feeling, if you get referral that's like, it sends shock waves through your system, you're probably on a nerve or something. But I have done a lot of massage in this area, and I've never really felt any neurological impingement while working on it. So pay attention to that. If you ever feel any burning, tingling, numbness, shooting pains, things like that, be careful. You might, because everybody has a different neurology, you might have a more superficial nerve, and so you want to be careful with that. But anything that's like dull, achy, kind of referral pain or pressure, that's usually a trigger point. Okay, so we've done all this right through in here, and now we can come up to the neck. And so you just do like the back of the neck. You do the same thing where you push in and you can pull out. I also like to push in and go up, because all the attachment points are right here. And so the origin is down here or right here, and it goes up to the base of the skull. And so if you push in, then you want to push in and pull up towards the base of the skull in order to elongate the muscle. And so you can even go all the way up into here. That feels great as well. Be careful if you ever start to feel lightheaded or anything like that. You might be pushing on the basilar nerve, or sorry, the basilar artery. As long as you're just doing wave-like strokes, that's not an issue. You're not going to be sticking on it long enough. But if you start to do static pressure, where you're just holding it there, be very mindful of any kind of dizziness. I also like to get into the rotator cuff as well. This is going to be the deltoid and the infraspinatus. I really like to get right on the corner of the scapula here. The spine is right here. The medial border of the scapula is along here. I go right in there, and I do that same kind of wave-like stroke. I'm pushing in and I'm pulling out. Pushing in, pulling out. I do that until I find a really good spot where I can tell that there's like an active trigger point. And you'll start to notice it to where, yeah, right there, I'm pushing in here and I'm feeling it refer pressure over to here. So that's an active trigger point. And so I'm just going to push in, I'm going to hold it, I'm going to breathe deep. I'm just going to allow that to relax. Okay, done that a little bit. Now I tide stroke it a bit more. And then I move on. And you can do this a couple times a day, or you can just do it like 2 to 3 times a week. Depending upon what you're working on, if you really have a super tight muscle that's just been overused, you can do it a couple times a day, maybe even more. Just be careful or pay attention to whether it's sore, if it gets bruised or anything like that, then you need to back off. But otherwise, you just get in here and kind of work out that tension little by little. Okay, so yeah, just all in this area. You like just search and destroy. You know, really you could just play it by how you feel. You know, some people like to get in here and just mash things out. I personally don't recommend that. I think if you do that, you're going to be destroying muscle fibers, and yes, it helps it to become less painful in the short term, but I think that that's more so due to the fact that you're destroying muscle fibers and therefore they have to relax, and also you're going to be releasing endorphins due to the amount of pain that you're experiencing. So I think that is counterproductive personally. I like to look for the sweet spot in between, not too much pressure and not too little. So that's what we're doing here. Okay? There's also a place right about here. So you angle it upwards like this and you push up. So you're pushing in and going up. This is a very common spot where if people have shoulder pain right around here, or maybe like right in the front, it's right around in here where the pain is felt, but the trigger point is right over in here. So look around in there. The teres major is like right on the bottom half of this lateral border. And so the way to get to that is to come from the side and push in and up. And then so, yeah, because if you're just pushing straight in from the back, you might miss it. So you have to come in from the side, push medially, push towards the spine, and pushing in towards the back. That's how you'll find that trigger point. That one comes up a whole lot whenever I'm working with clients. They say they have shoulder pain. I just go straight to this, and they're like, oh my God, that's where it's coming from. Okay, so that's a nice little secret there. Right, well that is the Body Back Buddy. If you found this useful, the thumbs up will help me to reach more people. And the description box below will have this, so you can pick it up on Amazon. Yeah, if there's anything else, the reason I did a deep dive into this is because I had a client, or not a client, but a viewer that put a comment in and she wanted to see more about it. So you're welcome to direct me. I'm taking recommendations. And yeah, in the meantime, I hope you have a good one.